was quite a different shift.
Good. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 25th Litchfield Budget Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. We have a couple of folks who are out this evening because of school break. I want to thank Mr. Plansky for filling in this evening as the school board rep for Mr. Cutter. And before we move into our agenda tonight, I'm sure as most folks have heard by now, and was mentioned at the Board of Selectmen meeting as well as the school facilities meeting, is the passing of Bill Spencer. Bill was a long time member and chair of the Budget Committee, and I want to start tonight's meeting with a moment of silence for Bill. Thank you. Before we move into the agenda, Mr. Leary, Ms. Douglas, I know both of you worked with Mr. Spencer for a long time on the Budget Committee. I didn't know if you had any comments.
You can go first.
Yeah, I didn't work with him. I just knew him, he was in Litchfield forever. And Rich LaSalle mentioned this the other night. The guy was also a long distance runner. For his age group, he was ranked nationally, somewhere in the top 10. But he was very fiscally conservative. But you could talk to him about an issue that was dear to you, and if you gave him a valid reason to vote for it, he would vote for it and support it. I mean, he was very open-minded. He was just an incredible man on the Budget Committee. I mean, he wasn't one way. He could go either direction. You had to pitch your argument to him. He's going to be missed. He's great.
Carrie.
I truly enjoyed my opportunity to work with him on the Budget Committee. He was one of the members when I first joined many moons ago, and he always had incredible insight and really truly dug into the numbers. His analysis was dead on, and he was right almost every time. So I truly appreciate the conversation and the history and the insight that he provided, and he will be greatly missed within the community. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
Absolutely.
We talked to him in elections. He actually said he would still be on budget if he could see. He couldn't see the stuff anymore, you know. But he missed it. He liked it. Just a good guy.
I miss seeing him run along Albuquerque.
No kidding, right?
Yep. Any other comments? Thank you all for your kind words, and he certainly will be missed. I interacted with him a few times at town and school deliberatives. Didn't have the opportunity to serve with him or know him as well as you all did, but always positive interactions. And I haven't met anyone that has had a bad thing to say about him. Always appreciative of the work that he did. So certainly will be missed. Next, we have any review or additions to tonight's agenda. Seeing none.
Brian will hit you if anything is wrong.
One thing I did that was left over from our last meeting, and we didn't officially vote on this, I don't believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is under member assignments, we decided to defer the Budget Committee rep to School Board Facility Committee meeting. Ms. Douglas, I know you attended the last one, which was perfectly fine because I think we talked about that.
Well, I was not going to sit at the table, but it was pushed towards it. So.
Well, and I just wanted to make it a formality and have us actually vote you as the person to go do that so that we formally record that. So I'll entertain a motion for the Budget Committee rep to the School Board Facility Committee.
So made.
A motion for Ms. Douglas, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain.
I'll abstain.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion carries 6.
I do appreciate the school board's willingness to change the timing of that meeting to make it more accessible to people like me who cannot attend a 3:30 meeting. So thank you very much.
Agreed. Great. Thank you. And thank you for serving on that. I'll open it up for public input.
Crickets.
Seeing no public this evening, we'll have one more public input session very shortly. If you're interested, you can come join us at Town Hall. Close public input, and I will quickly summarize correspondence. Since our last meeting, thank you to Ms. Stevens for pulling this together earlier today. On March 28th, Chair Sun sent the draft Budget Committee 24-25 calendar and draft minutes for the February 3rd and February 10th post-deliberative budget meetings. Also on March 28th, Selectman Bob Leary forwarded the total tax impact from past town articles. On April 1st, Recording Secretary Matthew Sullivan sent the draft 28th March meeting, the March 28th meeting minutes. On April 17th, School Board Rep Andrew Cutter forwarded the April Business Administrator Report. On April 19th, Bookkeeper Heather Saman sent the March and April Town Budget Reports. On April 22nd, Chair Sun sent the April 28th agenda, current bylaws, and updated draft 24-25 calendar. On April 22nd, Selectman Leary shared the unfortunate news of Mr. Bill Spencer's passing. Mr. Spencer was a respected member and chairperson of the Litchfield Budget Committee and a longtime Litchfield resident. And then on April 23rd, Ms. Saman sent the 2024 first quarter budget comparisons. That's our correspondence since our last meeting. Next, we have review and acceptance of minutes. We have 3 different sets of meetings to review: the February 3rd, February 10th, which is from the town and school deliberatives, and then our last meeting, March 28th. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the 3rd, the 10th, and the 28th.
Motion by Mr. Burke,
Second.
second by Ms. Douglas. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstain,
Aye.
motion carries 6-0-1.
No, yeah, 6-0.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move into town business. Mr. Leary.
Let's see. The board has been working on the fee changes for, which I know is dear to Mrs. Douglas. We're getting it to the point where we can finalize it and vote it in. And we wanna do it sooner than later because of all the development going on. So hopefully to maximize whatever, changes will be done. We've appointed some people to, zoning and planning, as well as, rec, so those boards are getting full again. We have, let's see, we accepted the, Veterans Park officially the other night, although the ceremony will be May 4th. We had to make a motion to accept it as a gift to the town, which we did the other night. They're also doing the Freedom Tree lighting, tonight at 8:30 over there, which is gonna be, it'll be on to signify certain events like Memorial Day, 4th of July, Veterans Day, things like that. And then, let's see, what else is there? We have, we've been working on selectmen bylaws because all the boards in town have bylaws except the selectmen, so we've been looking at implementing and adopting some. And that's about it, I think. Unless I'm figuring, oh, you got Kim's, request for the,
Yes.
as far as the budget
Calendar.
schedule coming up?
Yeah, I'll speak to
And-
that when we talk about the calendar here
There
in
was
a
a
minute.
resignation though,
Yep.
wasn't there?
Hmm?
Was there a resignation?
Oh, yeah, the building inspector resigned, yep, so we'll be posting that position. We have MRI gonna fill in the meantime. Going back to the budget with Mrs. Kleiner, she's a person who likes to have all her ducks in a row before making any presentations. I mean, she really does, and it was
It's a good
really
quality.
paining her that we don't have insurance, and, there's a couple items that's never ready when we come to budget.
Right.
Right.
And that just tears her apart. So that was the request that we were talking about.
And I'll talk about it. I understand her
Yeah.
her concerns with that. I also know we can go through part of that process without having that information and still make progress on the town budget, and that's what I was trying to share in return. So yeah.
Yeah,
So is she asking for a delay?
just one, the one, we have 2 weeks that we.
There was
when
one,
she wants
and
to go to the
there was
second
one
week.
that was probably going to be an optional meeting, and it probably won't be. We'll probably have to come to vote on like health and stuff.
That doesn't push it off at all,
Yeah,
it just.
it doesn't
push
change
it
anything.
Going to the
Yeah.
second week versus just the first week.
Correct.
The 17th, I think, is the one she wants to eliminate till the 24th, and hopefully we have it.
We'll
That's
vote- we'll be
November
voting
or,
on October.
October,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, we're not gonna have health and insurance by then. That's a pipe
Maybe
dream.
not, no.
Questions for Mr. Leary this evening?
I do have a couple.
Yep.
You just brought up on, what's the purpose of placing a value on, like, the veterans? Park? Is it for,
Legally, you have to do it whenever a gift is given, you have to put a value on it.
does that like increase the worth of the town?
It has to do with insurance.
Well, yeah, it's actually both. It's a benefit to the town. It's
But it-
something like,
That doesn't get taxed though.
it doesn't get taxed, but it's part of what the town owns
Oh,
now, so
mhm.
it's like anything else, you know. And yeah, for insurance purposes,
If the gazebo gets broken, how much do they cover? Yeah. So.
And I actually think that's a very low estimate. I think with the volunteer work, I think the number's probably closer to $200,000 worth of, for that park,
I bet easily.
and maybe more, yeah.
The next one, I had, the gazebo at Sawmill. How was that paid for?
Sawmill,
By the pickle courts?
oh, that's different. It's a
I
new one.
think it was the rec department. I think it came out of theirs, but I'm not 100% sure. I can ask and get
Was it
back to you on
factored
that.
into the original
Curious what-
project?
I'm curious what the cost was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, what the cost was and who, and where it came from, okay.
Yeah, because all the other ones have been paid for, like the ones further down were paid for by soccer, weren't they?
Correct.
And the
Yeah.
one at,
But I didn't think the rec had that kind of money.
Maybe we
no,
can
it'd
ask.
be interesting to see. No, that is in,
I
huh?
thought the impact fees were all used for the
The
courts.
The courts.
No.
Oh, was it?
No, I don't think they all were.
Interesting.
If we can get that from Miss Kleiner or Mr. Ames.
'Cause I don't
Just
think,
maybe a breakdown of what the courts cost and, like, cause I thought most all the monies went towards the courts, but
that's
you're
what I
right.
thought as well. And restriping for tennis, to restore it to a tennis court. I don't recall discussion of,
Yeah.
They have enough.
Any other questions for Mr. Leary?
Yep.
Yep.
Still waiting for that fence at, Innis.
It just, the voters put it in, so the fence, Eversource has the fence. It's just waiting for them to come put it in, or whoever the installer is.
Okay.
But it got approved in March by the voters, so we signed the contract with Eversource for them to do it and give them the easement, and just
Well,
waiting
no,
on.
what was approved in March was allowing them to have the right of way.
Yeah, and the fence was part of that agreement.
And are they doing the entire fence?
That is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to run that whole back.
It just, with soccer already started, it'd be nice if that thing was up.
Yeah.
I'm sure the neighbors would like it up.
I know Mrs. LaSalle lives over there, and I know she would like it up.
Anything else for Mr. Leary this evening?
But it's way better than the old days when the kids would hit baseballs over that fence into people's yards.
All right, school business, Mr. Plansky.
So I guess the big thing that happened financially is the DRA forms were submitted on the 12th and accepted by the state. We had our audit, no real deficiencies there. A couple minor things related to purchase orders being filled out after things were already purchased. So
soccer.
they've, typically small items, more of a timing issue.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Scott Taylor's on WebEx, and he says he can't get in.
Oh,
John, can you let Mr. Taylor in?
you can also let him know we're done probably in 10 or 15 minutes. He did message me. It could be that Sean was having WebEx issues earlier, so you can give him this number to call 603-429-6515 if he wants to dial
429.
429-6515. You can dial in the old-fashioned way. Mr. Plansky, back to you.
And the financials were submitted, I think, last week as well, to the budget committee.
Yes.
Any questions on those that I can take back?
Questions on the financials themselves?
Yeah.
I did have a comment. Wow, that was loud. Mr. Taylor?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes,
Scott.
you're welcome, sir. Thank you. Sorry for the WebEx issues.
No
We-
problem.
We are in the middle of school business updates.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
And then
Um,
we're gonna talk about the calendar a little later, a little
Okay.
bit.
I did want to make a comment too. I saw at the last meeting about Mr. Totten leaving. I think that's a big loss for the town and for the school. He's done an excellent job the last couple of years. I think it's been great to work with for the budget committee, and I don't envy the school board of having to replace him because he's done a fabulous job.
Yeah, Doug's been absolutely great and, is able to explain it in such a way for, I think, everybody, certainly
everybody.
me to understand on
Yep.
the board, so it's truly appreciated. He is gonna
Budget
be a big
season
loss.
should be interesting with the school.
We've got a lot of new faces on the school side that will, yes, very true. Questions for Mr. Plansky?
Oh, just to jump in with him on the superintendent, I did reach out, well, the superintendent was sitting next to me the other night, then nobody knew, thanks.
I was late.
But I reached out to him, at that meeting and, to get the town administrator, and myself and him and Andrew Cutter, the chairman of the board, to get together and start to try to open up some lines of
So
communication.
is he
again.
officially on now, or is he?
June.
He starts July first.
Oh, July first.
But he's come to a couple of our meetings, and he's
Alright.
trying to get it, you know.
Up to speed before, so he doesn't just jump in cold?
Yep.
I like that, I appreciate that.
Anything else for Mr. Plansky this evening?
No, but Bob, that, what you just said about getting together, I
Yeah.
know that's something that the boards have tried to do before, and the select board didn't wanna do it. Are you
Yep.
inviting the budget committee too? Cause you didn't mention.
Eventually, yes, but we wanna have a meeting together. Yep, yep.
I would be happy to be a part of any future meetings when the timing makes sense. I think to Mr. Burke's point earlier, when we come after July 1st, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk about the process that we want to use, knowing that we have all new people in place, I think it could be great for all of us to sit down and go through the process, things that have worked well over the last few years, and things that with new people coming in may have some different ways they want to try things, and we can have a good discussion on that.
Yeah, there wasn't exactly a lot of trust in the old board and administration, and I feel that with the new superintendent and the new chair of the board, I think it's a chance to open it back up again. So that's why I reached out.
Anything else for Mr. Plansky this evening?
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
With the recent news as far as the delays, as far as the batteries for the LMS project, is there any information yet in terms of what the financial impact on the rest of the project, rebate, and or the balloon payment?
I don't think it impacts anything to do with the balloon payment, Scott. I think the one thing that's in place now is we have a rate set that was supposed to start after the batteries were installed. I think it's $9,600 a month. That's already in place and has been in place for a couple of months. I know Andrew, it's gonna be addressed at our next board meeting, because there's some language in there, in the agreement. I haven't seen the entire agreement yet, so, we will be going back after the vendor for for a penalty or something to try to get some reimbursement for the fact that the factory isn't built, and I can say I was as surprised as anyone when that was mentioned at the last meeting.
I would think we'd also discuss with our consultant for recommending a system that they should have known we couldn't build. Frankly, like, where was the consultant and the engineers in this discussion? How can you spec out something that doesn't exist yet?
I think it existed, and what we were told is that there's been such demand for them, they had, in order to meet demand, they've had to build a new plant.
Then ours should have been set to the side.
But correct me if I'm wrong as far as the batteries go, and this was just my understanding from watching part of the last school board meeting, that the batteries themselves are a direct benefit to the PPA.
Correct.
And so the fact that those are not in place are not impacting the cost to the school. Is that a
Correct, and
true
we're
statement?
we're paying the PPA rate
Correct.
now.
So by the batteries not being in place, that is detrimental to the PPA.
Well, it's also gonna require additional people coming in at a later date, disrupting the school that's already been buttoned up, to now you have to go back and do more work. So there's a schedule, regardless of if it's minor or not, but now we should have been done in off-site a year ago, and now we're gonna have potentially people in later
I don't disagree with that.
that are gonna have to come back in. I don't know the extent of the work that's gonna be involved, but clearly they're gonna need access to the building. So yes, it doesn't affect our cost on the electricity, but who knows what other impacts if we have to have people come back in later to clean up after, whatever these guys do. There is a potential impact to us financially, and it stinks.
Mr. Taylor, I think the second part of your question was the balloon payment.
Before we even started saving for.
That's on the CIP
Correct.
to set money aside,
Okay.
towards that balloon payment. I'm on the CIP committee now too, so I'll learn more about that.
It was on it last year too, we saw.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
get anywhere.
I know, but there were other things that were ahead, but that's the thought of the board, is to set that money aside annually, so when it's time, we can pay it off in one shot.
That's a wonderful plan.
Mr. Taylor, does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does, thank you.
Yep. Anything else for Mr. Plansky this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move into member input, new business. Two items that I had on the agenda that were carryovers from last month are just formal approvals of our budget calendar. I shared those with the committee earlier this week. Just find it real quick. Everything is the same, the exception of, to Mr. Leary's points from earlier, Ms. Kleiner did share some feedback about what the first version of this calendar did have October 24th. I think it said if needed in parentheses, based on feedback from Ms. Kleiner, and when she anticipates having health and insurance information, that she would prefer that we vote on the 24th for that piece. What I think kind of the original thought was, let's just defer all voting until then. I said I think we can work through a large portion of the budget on the 17th, and then if there's an opportunity to come back and vote on additional things, including insurance, health, etc., then we can do that on the 24th. I feel like that's kind of where we landed in the conversation I had with her over email. Certainly open to any feedback or additional thoughts from the committee, other than literally removing the if needed in parentheses. On the town side, this is the same as was shared last month. So any other thoughts, comments, questions on the proposed calendar?
So we would still plan to meet on the 17th to begin
Correct.
voting.
That is correct.
I was gonna say, I don't think you can squeeze it all into 1 week anyway.
It was optimistic at best, yes.
I mean, I can talk fast if you like, but
Yeah.
I think that Kim's main point was that if we meet and we start voting on the town budget, and then we get the numbers and we have to make changes, then we, not only the budget committee, but the
The
select
Board
board
of
has to go back
Selectmen. That-
and revote everything, so it kind of makes the 17th really a futile meeting,
I-
if you will, if there's changes. If it's not, then it's
Correct.
two easy meetings, but we don't expect that insurance is gonna stay the same. It's probably gonna go up.
Peter, Mr. Plansky, did you have comments or questions on the school side?
Sure, on the school side, the meeting that's on the 14th of November, we would like to have that be either a joint session or a meeting for the school board. We feel like we're pretty tight in that window. Especially, we'll be in the same boat, we won't have health insurance and stuff like that at that point. I think last year we got them very late. But they were, I think, smaller than we had anticipated. And we would either do that as a joint session, with the budget committee as a third session. And
When
then,
would be this
if
week?
need be, we have a school board meeting on the 20th. That we can make, additional changes, and then there's another, review on the 21st
So,
by you guys. That's
so if we do that, then what I would then would we need both meetings on the 7th and the 12th?
It was discussed that there would be a third session, if you all wanted to attend. It doesn't have to be, it would be like an extra session for the school board
This would be the
too,
school board
Yeah.
session.
as opposed to, the budget review.
so I'm just told, this is November, right, you're talking?
Yep.
Yes.
Alright, so,
The meeting on the 14th.
And so the school board has a meeting, I assume, you're gonna meet on the 7th, the 12th, and then you would have a regular meeting on the 20th?
On the 20th, correct.
And so I'm just trying to think of, from a voting standpoint, if we vote on the 12th and the 5th, the 28th is Thanksgiving. We lose a week because of Thanksgiving, falls on the 28th.
I don't understand the reason for the change.
Yeah,
The school never gets your insurance until later on.
Yeah, very, very late.
Never. So, I mean, changing the 14th is, I don't understand why
I
you wanna
feel like
change
we
it.
usually don't vote until after Thanksgiving.
well, we
Yeah,
aren't
the
gonna
voting is
vote
scheduled
until
till
the
the 12th.
5th. So I think one option is that this group can consider is we're gonna have the joint sessions on the 7th and the 12th.
Okay.
To your point, or maybe it was Mr. Taylor's from last month, that if we streamline the presentations that we're gonna get, could we do that in one meeting? Possibly.
That, and then, to your point, we have a lot of new folks that are gonna be involved in this process, a new BA,
That's why I'm hesitant to
New-
cut a meeting altogether.
new superintendent, new curriculum director.
So here's what I would propose. I would propose we keep this schedule as is, and it at least keeps the dates on the calendars, so
Yep.
we can do some of the formal stuff. And then when we have a new superintendent and a new BA, if we need to tweak some of this as we get closer, I'm okay with it, as long as you know, there are things that can't change in my mind, like the presentations on the warrant articles, because we have to vote on the 9th. The budget hearing is going to be locked in. We're not going to meet the week of Thanksgiving, so there are some things that kind of lock us in. The delivery of the budget on the 29th is actually about 5 days later than it was this past year, which Mr. Totten was able to deliver on, which was great. I'm comfortable leaving this as is, and then if we find ourselves where the school needs a session on the like, we're not, to Ms. Douglas's point, we're not voting until the 5th. If the school's gonna take action on the 20th, that's fine. We can still go through our review process. The school could take action on the 20th.
We meet on the 21st
We're gonna have,
anyway.
we're gonna have a meeting on the 21st, and then we start voting on the 5th.
Okay, I'll bring it, I will let the board know.
Okay. I just don't wanna lose the date, cause we could find ourselves trying to cram everything into a 3 or 4 hour meeting, and I don't wanna do that if we don't have
And then
to.
people get cranky and just start saying no. Oh wait, I do that. No.
I'm certainly open to talk through it, and I think it probably makes sense, like again, in early July to do that.
Okay.
I think you also have the benefit that your chair has been through this process a lot, so he can help guide some of the newbies through it.
And I do think this flow, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this flow has worked fairly well, and we've fine-tuned it the last few years we started off with the joint sessions that have gotten better year over year, and I think it's in a good spot flow-wise. And again, to Mr. Totten's credit, we got the budget well in advance of when we needed it this year, and I think, you know, I heard him say at the last meeting that it was doable to have it delivered by then as well. Any other thoughts, comments on the calendar?
No, you can always tweak it if you need to.
Yeah.
You know, it's-
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget committee meetings calendar 24-25 as is today.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget calendar. for
Motion by
24,
Mr.
25.
Burke.
Is that with the change with January 16th?
Oh, yes, I apologize. There was one, the version that I sent you, earlier this week had the budget hearing on January 14th, which is a Tuesday.
Oh.
That was my mistake. Ms. Stevens caught that. It should say January 16th. So the version I'm looking at now, I changed it on my version. It says January 16th, so.
Now you have to make a new motion, Brian.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Amended.
budget calendar 24-25 with the exception of changing the January 14th meeting to January 16th.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Burke, second by Ms. Stevens. All those in favor, any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Motion carries 7-0-0.
Peter, would it be possible maybe to have the superintendent come to our next meeting and just introduce himself to everyone? A lot of folks
The
here
next
haven't
budget
met him,
meeting?
Yeah,
Certainly can make that request, he seems to be very flexible, so.
yeah, because.
Either in May or June, either or, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe June, because he said he has a lot going on right
Yeah.
now, which is why we couldn't meet.
End of
but
June might be better. That's gonna be close
Get
to his
everybody to
start
at
date.
least meet him before the budget season, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
I think it'd be a good thing.
All right. Next item of new business was the bylaws. Approval, we have to do an annual approval of our budget committee bylaws. Anybody have any proposed changes to our existing bylaws? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve our 2024
I'll make a motion to
Bylaws?
approve the bylaws.
motion by Mr. Burke,
Second.
second by Ms.
Give it to Kate.
Stevens. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain.
Oh,
I'm
if we're doing,
abstain. I
we're
haven't
doing
read
that,
them,
we
so.
have to,
We didn't ask to sneak a peek.
yeah, we
I know we did, and I know that's why I left him off the last
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep it at 6-0-1.
I'm gonna make a motion that we allow Mr. Taylor to vote the rest of the evening.
second,
Motion by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Douglas. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Mr. Taylor, can you quickly state your reason for being remote this evening?
Yeah, out on work travel and I'm here by myself.
Thank you, sir. My apologies for not doing that earlier.
Mr. Taylor, you're gonna be able to vote to adjourn pretty soon.
We will get to vote to adjourn.
But he will get the vote.
Surprised
You
you
will
didn't
get
just
to
make the motion right there.
Yeah.
I actually had a question.
Any other member input, new business for this evening?
I actually had a question I forgot about school stuff. I haven't dug into the business report. Is it discussions yet about end of year encumbrances and fund balance yet?
We have not started those discussions yet, but I would imagine they're gonna be on the next agenda.
All right, we'll hopefully see it before, the end of the year.
Is there an estimate right now of year end?
Very cautious about providing that number even to the board, because things change, and we've done some stuff with the LSA contract, so, I think another few weeks we'll have a better idea of where we are.
So we can expect to hear that at the next meeting?
It would be at so Mr. Totten's end of May BA report.
Yeah, because we used to get updates earlier, so it'd be nice to see it before we close the books in case we say, hey, red flag.
I would assume that second meeting in May, which is when we normally get the BA report, would be a good time to see that.
Sorry, I totally forgot.
Any other member input, new business this evening? Seeing none, I will reopen for public input. No one has joined us. I will close public input. Mr. Taylor, I'll give you the honor to give us a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying
We
aye.
have to do roll call
Aye.
vote, roll call vote.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, right.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Plansky,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Stevens.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
And Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0-0. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you in May.